I did a video about how expensive a Class B can be, and it got me thinking that people might be wondering why we chose a Class B van over those other kinds of motorhomes. And it's a good question. One of the main reasons I gave for getting a Class B was all of the experiences you can have with it. Well, you can have experiences with a Class A, B, or C, or even a towable or truck camper. So why the Class B? Let's face it, there are a lot of advantages pretty much any motorhome has over a Class B. First off, there's the obvious size. Our Class B is 22 foot long and 7 foot wide, or 154 square feet. Of course, that's the outer dimensions, so living space would be less, but you get the idea. Compared to a large 45-foot Class A, you're looking at twice the area, and that isn't including slide-outs that could provide even more space. Class Cs can get big too, but average around 25 feet or so. That still provides more room than our Class B, so why Class B? There are also a lot of conveniences in those bigger motorhomes. The larger freshwater tanks, more storage, more room for people to stretch out in, and more sleeping areas too. Some motorhomes come with dishwashers, ovens, washers and dryers, and even fireplaces. You just don't get that in a Class B. So ask again, why Class B? Class Cs and even some small Class As can actually cost less than a Class B brand new. I talked about that in a previous video. But I didn't mention towables in that video. They can easily be half the cost of a well-made Class B, and that's a lot of savings. With all these apparent advantages, why even consider a Class B at all? Well, it isn't really about the size or conveniences or expense, even though these are important things to consider. It's really about what you want to do with an RV in the first place. In other words, it's all about how you travel. Look at it this way. One person may like their old truck while another loves a fast sports car. The old truck may not look pretty, but it's a workhorse, while the sports car, well, it's a sports car. Neither is better than the other. They're just built to be used in different ways. The same goes with motorhomes. As I mentioned, towables and Class A's are large, and that can be an issue with parking and maneuverability. The space you park in has to be big enough for the motorhome to enter, turn around, and exit. Not only that, when you do find a place to park, it'll probably cost money every time you stop for the night. And don't forget, there are a lot of places that flat out say,
"You can't park that big thing here."
Parking can be a little easier with a Class C, but not by much. They still won't fit in a standard parking space, and let's face it, they aren't exactly stealth, so don't even try to hide yourself in the middle of a city or from your local HOA. Our Class B, on the other hand, has no problems with parking spaces. Even at 22 feet, we can pretty much park anywhere. Beyond that, it's stealth. Except for the 30 amp plug on one side, it just looks like a passenger van. We have no AC on the roof, no vents for refrigerators or toilets or whatever. No real telltale signs that it's even an RV. What does that mean? You can stealth camp almost anywhere, probably without HOA issues to deal with. That's a big plus on the B side. The larger the motorhome, the more difficult it is to safely drive. They aren't as nimble as a car or as easy to maneuver in tight spaces. You'll have to plan ahead too. Towables and Class A's can easily be 13 or 14 feet tall, so you have to plan your route. Don't want to get stuck in inconvenient places. Truck campers and Class C's may not be quite as tall, but still have some height and width issues, so there's still a lot of planning in your future, and of course, there will be times they just don't fit where you want them to. Hopefully not under a bridge. Our Class B is just over 9 feet high with nothing on the roof, so for the most part, no low bridge issues. We may not have all those dishwashers and ovens and fireplaces and whatnot, but none of the worries either. The Class A is not only large, it's heavy. And that means less gas mileage, sometimes as low as 6 miles a gallon. If you travel 300 miles a day, that's equivalent to 50 gallons of gas. At $4 a gallon, that's $200. Towables get around 8 miles a gallon, so you would use over 37 gallons of gas for the same trip, or $150. You tend to use a larger truck for truck campers, so maybe 10 miles to the gallon with that camper attached, which is 30 gallons of gas or $120 for 300 miles of travel. And even though a Class C is not as heavy as a Class A, mileage usually averages around 12 miles to the gallon, which would be using 25 gallons of gas or $100. We are averaging around 14 miles a gallon in our Class B, so that comes out to less than 22 gallons of gas for 300 miles, or less than $86. That's a savings of a little over $14 versus a Class C. Not much, but every dollar counts. It's over $34 in savings versus a truck camper, and over $64 versus a towable, and over $114 versus a Class A, all for the same distance of travel. Any motorhome could have helped us solve a lot of the issues I'm about to bring up, but these were important to us, so I want to mention them. One of the reasons we wanted an RV was because we take our dog with us while we travel. If we don't take her with us on trips, we pay about $1,000 or more just to put her in a kennel, which our dog hates, is a big expense, and quite frankly, we miss her. Not only that, when we traveled in the car with her, we had to find hotels that accepted dogs, which meant a lot of planning before we got anywhere. And when we found that hotel, we had to pay a non-refundable pet deposit, and that could easily cost north of $30 a night. And yes, we've paid that much in fees. With the RV, no kennels needed, and we don't have any pet deposits to deal with. Another issue, if we took our dog with us in the car, we had to stop every hour or so because the dog
gets car sick.
This isn't a concern with the RV. The dog is fine riding in our embassy, so we don't have to stop as often, saving both time and discomfort on both our parts. The RV has a bed and a toilet, so no need to find less than pleasant facilities to do our business, or drive all night trying to find a place to sleep. We can sleep pretty much anywhere. And of course, since we're in our RV, no more air travel headaches. We don't deal with airline delays, security queues, crowded planes, missed connections, and so many other aggravations that seem to be the norm with air travel nowadays. The trade-off, of course, is less space than larger motorhomes. But our embassy is designed so well, we actually have a lot of room to store our stuff. Cabinets, drawers, a big garage and back for larger items. And our SL layout sleeps up to 4 people. And that is very convenient for our family and our style of travel. For us, it made sense to pay what it costs for an RV. It's true that we'll save some money with no kennel costs or pet deposits, and save on gas versus larger motorhomes, But unless we travel non-stop, which we aren't, the savings won't ever be as much as we spent on the RV itself. And that's okay. It's the experiences we are paying for, not the RV. We have seen sights that we would never even have thought of when driving a car. With the RV, we always have a place to stay, so stopping for a while to see the sights is never a problem. We don't have to keep a schedule or worry about some kind of place we have to be at a certain time. In the car, we had to make it to the next hotel or spend our time looking for places to eat dinner. We couldn't afford to stop just anywhere and spend extra time relaxing and visiting something unplanned. On our very first trip with the RV, we were able to go to a big family get-together and stay in our van, which allowed more room for other family to stay in the house. And personally, I've already checked off 3 things on my bucket list, and that was just on the first trip. That never would have happened driving a car. There are people who have decided to live full-time in the RV and travel the country, chasing the sun and living that kind of lifestyle. As long as they understand the limitations of each kind of motorhome, space considerations, gas mileage, and so on, and plan accordingly, they should be good to go. We don't ever plan on living full-time in our embassy. We'll always have a sticks and bricks to come home to, but we do plan on extended travel, so for those times, we also have to understand and plan for limitations. Let's face it, stretching out in a 2,200 square foot house is a lot easier than it is in a 154 square foot van. But then, we can call the vastness this country has to offer our backyard. Try to do that in a sticks and bricks. The decision of what size motorhome you want is of course up to you. Take time to research properly and know what you're getting yourself into before you purchase. Our biggest need was stealth because of our style of travel, but yours may not be. You may want luxury while you travel, so a Class A is probably the way to go. Be prepared to deal with its larger size and lower gas mileage. Taking the kids and pets along? Maybe a Class C is in your future, with extra sleep areas and storage. Or you may want to travel in rough terrain, so need to plan for a more expensive 4-wheel drive vehicle or a truck camper. Understanding your needs is the first step in making the best decision on what type of motorhome will provide you the best travel experiences. Take your time. Motorhomes aren't going anywhere without you. Be seeing you.